this video. My name is Natalie O'Shea. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from the UK, and as part of this tutorial bundle you get a tutorial for this beautiful card here. So we are using the beautiful Blizzard stamp set and coordinating die, the Blizzard thin knit dies, and so this is my take on using those and a few other bits and pieces, and we're going to run through how I make this card with you, showing you everything that I make. There's a few bits to it, and if you can see, if I hold it up to the camera, we're going to be making this background. It's not a piece of pattern paper, and it's got some dimension on it, it's got some sparkles on it, all sorts going on there. So let's get started, shall we, and we'll see how we get on. So the first thing we're going to do is take a piece of A5 card, or half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 card, and just fold it in half. I tend to use my bone folder just to make the crease clear, and that's our base card done. Ta-da! So I'll put that to one side for the moment. Then the next thing we did is I took a piece of card here, and I'll put the measurements up on this video so you can see them in front of you now. And so this card is a piece of crumb cake, so that base is Night of Navy and this is crumb cake. And what I do is I put it through my Big Shot machine and the new corrugated embossing folder, the textured embossing folder, and just run that through my Big Shot machine, and then you come out with something that looks like that. So it looks like corrugated card. Love that. And you may want, if you find that your card is cracking, you might just want to give it a very light mist of water before you run it through. I don't mind. Cardboard's never perfect, is it? So when you're looking for that sort of cardboard corrugated effect, I think the little bit rougher it is, the better it is. So there we go. So we end up with that. And what I've actually done is that would be fine as it is like that. But I like to make the pattern stand out a little bit more. So I've got my crumb cake ink pad and a sponge dauber, and literally, I'm off camera there, let's try there. Just put my sponge dauber, and I don't want it really dark, so in fact I'm going to get rid of most of that and just go over, and you can see, you can do it in a circular motion, you can do it however you like. See the difference there? As it comes out, you can really see the pattern now. So once you're happy with what colour you want it, just keep going around really. And I'm going to have something in the middle of this, so I'm not too bothered about doing all over, just doing the edges really. And obviously you can add more as you go, but you can't take away. So always make sure you start light and then add more as you go. There we go, so all round the edges. As I say, not taking too much time and effort with it, not really sitting there doing it in a particular way, backwards and forwards, round and round, however you want. And there you go. So if you're looking for kind of a sepia effect, that's what you end up with. But you see it really, look at the difference between that and that. You can really see it come out. So that then gets mounted on that there. Now up to you what glue you use. It's flat, so I'm just using, the problem is with this, that it does, you might prefer a wet glue, something like a Tombow, multi-adhesive, but I'm happy. I'm just putting it in the middle there. There we go. And then I'm going to put it to one side for a moment, because we're going to be on to the next bit. So what we're going to create now is this background piece here. Now, I love this. It's all about getting messy, and I don't get messy very often, to be fair. So let's put my crumb cake away. And so what I'm going to be using for these are the Brusho colour crystals, and in particular the Prussian blue. So I've got a piece of watercolour card. Now the end piece that we're going to end up with is actually only this size, so it's about half of that, but I'm going to do a bigger piece because I like it. So and it gives you two bits then in fact as well. So spray water all over your card, drench it, and then I've got a pin in the top of here. Not that I can get it out. There we go. So just one tiny little hole, because this is full of such pigmented colour that you don't want to tip a whole lot over your work. And look at those powder crystals. Now it could be that you like this design, and that's absolutely fine. You can leave it. It's very personal taste. How much do you want to put in? Look at that. It's all a bit swirly, but I'm not going for that look. I'm looking for a little bit more of a washed out look. So what I then do is you can leave that to kind of merge in that, but let's give it a hand. So just flooding it with water now. This is watercolour paper, so it's all good. And then you could sit there and use a heat tool to heat it all off. But you know what? Let's get a bit of kitchen roll. Bit of kitchen roll, take off all the excess water. And it also lightens it up. And look at that. Love that. It's all very cool. So this has bent slightly, but as you heat it and as it dries completely, you will find that it will flatten again. Up to you again. You might want to, you can add more water now if you wanted to. If you didn't like these dots, you could add more of the powder. It's entirely up to you what kind of look you get. And you're obviously going to get a different look every single time. So let's put that to one side. In fact, let's pretend we've dried it. So there we go. There's me drying with my heat gun. And here's real Blue Peter style. Here's one I made earlier. So a lot lighter, and it doesn't matter if you miss some bits here as well. But let's have a look. We now need to find out how we did this splatter. You can see it has got some dimension. So let's see. So what I used in these were the champagne mist and the frosted white of these little pots here. Ooh. So they've got a ball in there, so each one's got a ball bearing in there, so give it a good shake before you start. And then paintbrush, aqua brush, anything like that, doesn't have to be particularly anything. And put your paintbrush in there and then just flick it against here. Now the littler flicks you do, the littler bubbles that you'll leave. The more paint you use and the harder you flick, the bigger. And as I say, the bigger you go, so these, for example, these ones here, they will take time to dry. So you can heat that up with a heat gun, but be careful that you don't scorch it, because it is paint, and if you add too much heat to it, it could scorch. But again, it's up to you. So if you don't want to wait for these to dry for so long, or you don't like the sort of 3D effect, then you can just do little flicks. Right, and then we use, so I get rid of the whites, that was a frosted white, and then I use the champagne mist as well, which is really sparkly, so it's really beautiful. So let's give that a shake, and there we go, and we're going to flick that as well. And it's really up to you how much you want to add to these and where you want to add it. Really up to you, whether you want to leave that bit white or whether you want. And bearing in mind this piece of watercolour card is enough for 2 cards. Look at that. Oh, lots so you can see it. And then, as I say, you can either leave it to dry or you can use your heat gun to dry it. There will be a film that will go over these big blobs, so it still will be wet underneath, but you could press it down. But there we go, that's kind of our background as such. So you end up with a piece like this. And as I say, everyone will be different depending on where it's run and all things like that. So now we're going to be looking at making this central panel here. So what I've got is, once you've cut this piece to the size that you want, I've got the measurements on the screen there of what this particular piece is, but you want to cut a piece of Night of Navy card to just a tiny little border, So it's not a great big border, it's just a tiny little border bigger. There we go. So what we'll do is we will, again, use whatever glue you like and attach that to there, leaving an even border. As I say, this one's dried now, but you can still see, ooh, those, they almost look like moon craters. But love it. Okay, so then using the Blizzard Thinlit dies, which is this sheet here. So it's a single sheet, they're not all independent dies, but look at the difference of snowflakes you get on that. And what I do is through my Big Shot machine, I put that on a piece of card, just bigger, and run that through the Big Shot. So one of Night of Navy and one, oh, I think that's the wrong way, there we go, went through that way, and one of Crumb Cake. And then you get all these snowflakes. So look, 3 large, 3 of the next ones, all different sizes. And don't forget these tiny little ones as well. Now you could use that as a card just on its own and keep all the bits in. And you've also got these tiny dots scattered around as well. They're actually to help push the card out of the die. But you could use them again if you wanted to, if you wanted sort of coloured dots to coordinate. So when you pop them out, they look like this. Isn't that pretty? So I've got a mixture of, oh, I think I've lost one. Never pick them up, can you? Right, so I've got a mixture. So I've got 2 of the big ones, and you can see what I did on here. These go slightly off. So especially that one there goes off. So let's put these. Now for snowflakes, I always have to have them so there's a point at the top and the bottom. You could do it like that, so the points are side to side. It's entirely up to you, but for me, as long as I keep something at the top and bottom, I'm good to go. And I literally, I mean, various ways you could do this. We do adhesive sheets, and you could have die cut them with the cardstock attached to the adhesive sheets. You can get another sponge dauber and sponge on sort of the Tombow, the multi-purpose adhesive. Or I've just found that literally a little bit in the middle is enough. So let's put that one off kilter, and this big one, so just the tiniest bit of snail on there, and that can go there. Now it's up to you obviously how many you use, how much of a flurry of snowflakes you want, but this was mine, so you can copy this as it is. So I try and get my sort of 1, 2, 3 going across and up, sort of diagonal, and then fill in the gaps with some little ones. So, ooh, I tend to use a pair of tweezers when we get this diddy. So, ooh, on there, and one there. So again, always points at the top, and one, have him there. There we go. And then got to have more sparkle obviously, so I've just used some rhinestones, and I put some of the little ones on the 3 little snowflakes, and then a medium-sized one on that one, and that one, and then some bigger ones on the big one there. There we go. So for our sentiment, I'm using this Season's Greetings out of the beautiful Blizzard set. So I've got it marked up here. I'm going to use some Night of Navy ink. So get my Night of Navy out. And there's my stamp on my block on a piece of watercolour paper. And so we're going to ink that up. It's quite a good stamp because it's straight. It's quite easy to keep straight, just lining it up on there. There we go. And then just trim that out. And here's one I made earlier. And I've just put them on mini dimensionals. So again, just use that there. And put that along the bottom, and I've just put it straight with that edge there. And then I have just realised I've made a mistake because I've tied this plaited linen thread round here. So because I didn't put it down with something too heavy, let's take that off again, and we'll tie that around there, and we just want to leave a knot there. So a double knot, and don't forget it can whiz round as well. So once you've tied your thing, you're not too heavy, you can move it along a little bit as well. That's what we'll do. There we go. And that's going to be underneath anyway, so we'll just twist that round and keep that at the end and just give that a trim. Ooh, get rid of that and get rid of that. So we'll stick that back on there. There we go. And then this I've just put, again, I've used mini dimensionals because I had them handy, but you could use any of the sort of 3D foam tape that you've got, whether it's strips, the normal size dimensionals, or anything. It's up to you. Oh, there's the one. And that's it. And then, so you could put this in the centre, but I like things off centre slightly. So as I say, you could put that there. But because I've put that bow there, I put it in the bottom right hand corner of that corrugated bit, and we are job done. There we go, all finished. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back next month with another card tutorial. Thanks for sharing with me. Bye.